We are ready.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock and we'll get the meeting called to order. This meeting and all other meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin statutes so that the citizenry may be made aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. A roll call indicates that all members are present. We have a motion to review and accept the agenda. Motion. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, we have minutes of the previous meeting on March 24th, 2025.
Motion. Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, we're down to correspondence. Okay, then we'll go down to administrative department report. Chris?
All right, good morning, everyone. Just wanted to provide some status updates regarding the 2025 contract and then allow an opportunity if you have any questions to bring those up. So I'm going to go to most recent and then review a couple of items for your just to remind you. Also, many of you, I've had an opportunity, I've included some items in the yellow folder that have some of the documentation that I'll be referring to. This is information that has either been available at previous extension committee meetings or was available as part of the April Finance Committee packets in the other items associated with that. So just wanted to update you that this Thursday on May 1st, the Division of Extension and the county negotiating teams will meet face-to-face to discuss the 2025 contract. Jeremy Solon and Chair Morak have discussed and agreed upon an outline for that conversation to occur. One of the things that Extension has proposed is that we would begin our conversations with the version 3 of the contract. This is the version that the Extension Committee passed at their January meeting for consideration by the Finance Committee with potential movement to the county board. That version, as a reminder, no action was taken by the Finance Committee at that February meeting. In turn, there was a negotiation team that was appointed of 8 members of the 8 members, which included 4 county board supervisors and 4 members of the extension leadership team, the county leadership team. And at that time, there was also agreement to extend the continuation MOU, the MOU of the operating agreement to operate under the 2024 agreement until April 15th, which was the day of the the continuation agreement actually occurred in February to extend the agreement to April 15th to operate to allow time for the negotiation teams, respective teams to meet and have an opportunity for that action. At the April Finance Committee meeting, county staff leadership proposed a continuation of the 2024 contract through December 30th of 2025. With the opportunity to negotiate the 2026 contract through 2025. That was not an agreeable option to the Division of Extension, especially with looking at the fact that there were no negotiations that occurred in that time period. And there was very minimal communication back and forth between from the county to Extension as far as what meetings or negotiation times or when we could set up, despite the fact that the Division of Extension team provided multiple dates which were available to me. At that April Finance Committee meeting, there was discussion by the supervisors, and based on that there was an insistence by multiple supervisors to have face-to-face conversations between the Division of Extension negotiating team and the county negotiating group. And in agreement, there's a continuation MOU that has been circulated. It has been reviewed and approved by the Division of Extension Legal, and it is currently being reviewed by Waupaca County Legal. And as of this morning, I have not received information that Chair Morak has signed that agreement yet. A copy of that was included, a copy of the MOU that was the most current MOU that has been circulated. There are some small stipulations based on the concerns that were raised during the Finance Committee meeting about the previous willingness, lack of willingness to negotiate by the county with extension. So there were some provisions that were included to ensure that we do have some conversations, including that by June 17th, that there or prior to June 19th, which is the extension of the continuation MOU, that there be action taken by the county board on some form of contract for the extension between extension and Waupaca County. So one of the things that is included in in the documentation and was included in the documentation for the Finance Committee in April is the Corporation Council did propose a version 4 of the contract for extension to consider. That contract, which is marked up, the marked up version that includes the changes was included. That version of the contract is not supported by the Division of Extension. We wish and propose that we begin negotiations with the version 3 of the contract, the last one that was approved by this group, as a starting point for conversations moving forward. That contract does include a number of items that are both proposed that are proposed by the county. Some of the notable items, and if anyone has any question, would include all IT, hardware, software support, and internet to be managed and revert to the UW-Madison Division of Extension. The supporting documents that are included in the packet that was provided to you include the different cost estimates for those options. Should that be the option that is ultimately negotiated and decided on. The amounts vary depending on the option and the location in which things are being implemented. But if those amounts are applied towards the Division of Extension or the Department of Extension operating budget, it would be very difficult to maintain our current level of programming and provide the financial support for our for the IT. Now, some of it could be a minimal impact, so it would have a much lesser impact with the potential of about $7,000 a year initially. $15,000 a year initially, with about that's the $7,000 a year to a initial cost of $45,000 with an annual operating cost of around 14. So those are some things that do need to be considered. One of the things I've also included in the version 4 of the contract is that there is striking of a key provision, and I apologize, I'll give you let me get the right number. But I believe it's 3. all my stuff organized, Larry, when I talked with you the other day.
Probably 3, 2, 3, 3.
Yes, 3, 2, and 3, 3. Yes, 3, 2, and 3, 3. Thank you. In the 3, 2 is marked out, and that is that was done by in a previous version. That was done by extension because that section. Excuse me. Which color? Blue. Okay. Apologies. I have them switched around. So 3.2 is the portion of the contract that relates to the county providing space and basic office needs to our food-wise staff. The county is proposing a strike through of that, which would eliminate the county for providing office space and basic office supplies such as copying and general, just the general office supplies in order for them to be capable of doing their work within the county. This is something that is fully not supported by a division of extension. This is something that has been in practice in Waupaca County for I believe
Since 2008.
Since 2008, so well over a decade. While it may not eliminate food-wise programming within Waupaca County, it would make it much more difficult for them to do the work that they need to do to connect and with community partners, have a space to meet with community partners and prepare for their education and outreach among other pieces. And then the 3.3 is reflective of the current situation. So that would be if there happened to be an empty workstation or desk, and there would be a regional or statewide educator that would be local to the area that would request and or be able to utilize office space. That is something that many other county extension offices do provide. That is not something that is currently an option for, not that it's not part of the current partnership. In both the current workspace and looking ahead at future workspace, it would be limited. That capability would be limited. So that's where those items are, or those are the major items that were included as proposed in blue by Corporation Counsel to Division of Extension in version 4 of the contract. With that, I would like to just pause and allow if there are any questions or clarifications to anything that I have shared so far.
IT portion, how did these numbers get so high? Is this part of the new computer system? Is this being,
So Bernie, that document, the alternative for the IT options, that is provided by, so the proposal or one of the things that has been suggested or required by Waupaca County is that UW-Madison Division of Extension provide all software, hardware, software, support, internet, and all of the security that goes along with that. So those, the Division of IT, also named Do It, in UW-Madison is the arm of UW that provides those services. These numbers are the actual costs for that Do It, the IT division, charge for the services for the full services that are being provided. So what you are seeing is the total. I do have a support document that if anybody does want to see where, at least for versions 1B and 2A, where the numbers, 2B, for the 2B portion, which is the development of the Waupaca courthouse location, and the 2 different laptop packages. So I have that supporting information, and that's the actual cost for the one time. So the initial cost would be the first year, which would be purchasing all of the equipment and doing the initial setup. And then there would be an annual cost or fee that each department, or in this case, or the county would be associated with those, paying those fees annually to keep things maintained. A replacement schedule for items and any upgrades to software security features that need to happen.
How does this work with other counties? Are they?
This would be, if this proposal were to go through, Waupaca County would be the only county that would be currently utilizing UW-Madison for technology and infrastructure for its extension department.
So, I understand why would the IT decide that they don't want anything to do with it anymore?
Right.
And, and I asked the question, what if somebody, did they go that route already? And yeah, and you said they came back because it wasn't what what I see is a little bit IT department dictating what they want, what they don't want. And we're setting policy as a board member. I set policy. And when someone says they can't do it, it's like, then maybe you're not the right one for it. Sorry. But that's our job, is set policy. There's just figure out how to get there.
That's right.
So, but that's all I know when I hear it, I can't do it.
At the finance meeting, Brent was saying that currently it's $30,000 a year for the IT portion of this. And then next year it went up 200,000. I just wonder where the $170,000 came from. Is this because of that new software computer package that everybody's paying their share of it now, that they're implementing this in a 1-year package to recoup that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know. That's not my area of expertise. That would be a question.
I just wondered if that might have been where this extra $170,000 came from that they were looking for.
Maybe it's tariffs.
It's all in the clouds.
I don't want to speak out of turn. The 30 to 200,000, my understanding of that was that was overall county IT, not our department.
Yeah, that was.
That was a computer program that I believe it was Chair Morak referenced, that that was for technology in general. And then there is some software that went from 30,000 to 200,000. So that isn't our technology expense. That's the whole county for whatever program they were referencing.
The numbers in front of you are the proposed numbers if we were to be taken off of Waupaca IT.
Correct.
That's what it would
And
cost.
understanding, we would have some IT from the extension state department, for the cost of implementing the state program. So, the county would have to expect something to have to pay,
Yeah, so currently there are already access to some of the statewide, I mean, there is currently some statewide support and connections for some of the software, but not the operating software or the hardware. One other piece that I do want to share, and I'm not sure if this came out during the finance committee meeting, so in addition to looking at to have the language in version 4 includes all staff, including support staff. And the one thing to point out is that we would to fully do that and have all 5 of the individuals, Haley, Paul, and Christy Gabrilska with FoodWise, were already forced to switch their computers over to state computers utilizing a different funding source that is not available to the other educators, there would need to be we would need to really look at converting or evaluating whether or not Haley Nelson and Ally Bellin could become UW-Madison Division of Extension employees for full access to all of the software and hardware. Now, that is something that has been discussed with them in generalities, and obviously would need much more further conversation as we determine which route it would do. It is possible that there could be a small salary saving or cost savings to the county to allow them to have still the same compensation packages or similar or better compensation packages, just because of the way that the fringe benefit calculations are with UW-Madison. That is not necessarily that is something that would have to be considered if all 5 of the remaining staff members were moved over to UW-Madison equipment software support, for everyone to have full access to the tools that they would need to do their job. And again, that would be a conversion that from the county operating from this employee categories or the salary and fringes on the county side, and those that would be still at the cost of the county and would be moved to the contracted services line and be part of that agreement.
Through our conversation, it sounds like we tried to meet with some of their suggestions that they come up with and been for alternatives and have not received that willingness of acceptance yet, is something to that effect. So
yeah, it has been very challenging to be able to exchange information and to find out where the common ground is and what are the areas of difference are and how we can work together. I am optimistic that beginning with the first session this Thursday, that we will be able to establish that. In fact, that's the baseline or the outline of our conversation is for both sides to be able to share areas of look for areas of agreement, but also share areas of concern and either identify areas to work on, things that need more information for a second session or working on a document that would be agreeable to both parties. So with that in mind, I have discussed with Dennis and before we adjourn today, and it's at the bottom, I have asked Dennis if we would consider scheduling a May meeting, which would, I guess my hopes is that we would have something to bring forward for you to review and consider and either make a recommendation to act on or have some other action as relevant to wherever the situation might be at that time.
That could still kind of depend on how good this first meeting goes, right?
It could, and also as a reminder that in January, this committee did pass version 3 of the contract that still has not been acted on by the county board. So that also could be for your consideration to re-forward that or continue to move that forward if it appears that there may not be any action that is forward moving.
Good question. Do any of our committee members have the opportunity to be present at that negotiation meeting?
Dennis is on the committee. I don't know the nature of it. I don't know if the meeting will be posted or scheduled. Right now it's scheduled at 10 a.m. and it'll be on the second public health conference room on the second floor of the courthouse. It may not start till 10:30 because two of the members have a planning and zoning committee meeting, so.
So going.
UW Extension will have 4 members. It'll be myself and Jeremy Solon. Also included in addition will be Paul DeLong. Paul DeLong is the Associate Dean for Operations. And also Deanna Schneider will be present. She is Extension's IT Director, to be able to answer questions about the specifics and the technical pieces of the proposal, if that's what is chosen or selected as the best option for UW to provide the hardware, software, internet support, and security.
Just one other area of question that I just want to bring attention to, that it also gets discussed along with I know the paragraphs that Chris mentioned with office space and things is some of the proposals about volunteers. And like to just get clarification from whoever made the notes in the version 4 of the contract about volunteers. We have a lot of volunteers in our office for all different programs. And I just want to have clarification on that as far as what, like certifying to the county and things, because the university provides liability coverage for our approved volunteers. And so anyways, that's just, there's a bunch of wording included around the whole volunteer part that I think needs to be explained and flushed out as well.
Well, yeah, 'cause it's not a small group. I think you've got 150 volunteers, HCEs, that's 35. I mean, and I don't know who else is on the outside. The more I get into it, it's not a little group.
No,
You know, and then to ask, so I was gonna question about this. You always went through, deciding who was gonna be.
the university actually, there is training and a background check that volunteers are required to do to be 4-H approved, specifically because they're working with minors.
Right.
So there's there are specific trainings and background check that are, the background check is every other year. And one of the trainings is annually, and the others are every other year now, I believe. There's still some changes going on there, but yeah, so those things are required.
Is there any paperwork to support this? What is involved?
Oh, yeah.
There's a flow chart.
Well,
Yeah.
I think needs a copy, or apparently they don't have a copy.
Well, and I think it's, like I said,
Yeah.
I think it's just trying to understand what the
Right.
wording is
Yeah.
that they're proposing.
Yeah.
But yes, there is actually on our extension website, there is a diagram of what training is needed and the background check to be a 4-H volunteer.
And Penny and I have had the conversation. We do want to seek clarification because some of the language seems that it's possible that some of the language was brought forward from previous contracts prior to a number of the volunteer management changes that were implemented when we transitioned to UW-Madison as our administrative home. So that's where the clarification, and I fully agree with Patty that that portion is also just as important as the other ones as far as how, because like, especially for the 4-H volunteers, there is a process there. All of the liability is taken care of by the UW. So just to find the clarification of what the actual intent or the meaning is of that section.
My understanding is that the HCE is a 501c3. So I think that with their nonprofit status, like they have their own, like they're a club. So I think that they carry their own liability as far as
That's the adults.
the home and community educators.
I was looking at this and they've got the extension will have to be volunteers will have to be certified through the county. And that wasn't in there before.
Correct.
And
No.
then the extension is liable. Well, the way Diane makes all this stuff make it sound is this is a gray area because now the county has their hand in it, whereas before the extension controlled it. So now the county will be liable because
Because they had to say in it.
Because they had a say in it. Meanwhile, the universities,
but then they say here, an extension shall be liable. But yet in the paragraph prior, they make themselves liable
The
by,
extension is already covers the liability.
when the county says they have to go through them first.
that's why I'm saying, I don't think they have a copy. I don't know if we got to provide it. I don't understand it.
Well, and I think Chris
It
is.
didn't come in there as a question. It came in as a directive.
Yes, and Chris is correct. I think this wording, so just a quick history. So before, so when Extension merged into UW-Madison in 2018, prior to that, 4-H volunteers were added to the county mutual insurance policy that the county had through, county mutual. I'm not sure what the official, that's what it was called, was county mutual. So the volunteer, we had to turn in a list of volunteers to, the clerk's office. And then they were included on the county's liability policy with county mutual. Since the merge to UW-Madison, that liability has transferred to UW-Madison. We no longer turn in a list of volunteers or anything to the county. They are university employees and have university liability coverage. Our 4-H program, not me or the county, but our 4-H Leaders Association provides accident insurance coverage for volunteers and members annually. But the university has the liability coverage for the last 6 or 7 years.
I don't know what's missing. Misunderstanding. I think to solve this without meeting, I don't see it. They're gonna send notes back and forth to the four. I don't understand. I don't understand it. Honestly. Because if you got 4 supervisors, if they're being texted, and nobody's getting the same piece of information, it ain't like it's add-on text. I talked to a few of them, I didn't talk to them all. Everybody got different information, and then that's how they agreed, and they put there was time spent in putting this together. But I think it wasn't really discussed for everybody involved.
Correct. The proposal or the preferred option that was presented at the finance committee meeting by county leadership staff was to extend the 2024 contract through the end of 2025 with negotiations and conversations to occur for 2026 during the 2025 calendar year. That was not acceptable or is not acceptable to Division of Extension, partially because there has been plenty of opportunity for conversation and negotiation that has not occurred to be able to come to an agreement. And the other thing to note is that significant changes to the computer network and structure have been made that are no longer consistent with the 2024 contract when it was put into place in January of 2024. Essentially, the computers have already been removed from the network and have already have limited workable, but in times limited capabilities, and or there were periods of delay in correcting some of the changes that were made that did cause disruption to workflow and or just unable to access tools, whether it be printer copiers or software applications.
And I would say it continues to disrupt.
Yes.
Work. It isn't that it did, Ally and Haley are not able to access quite a few things to do work that they had done previously to support the office and us as educators.
Is that they're not being able to access it through the IT department? Is that what you're relating to me?
So it is what related. So what was identified is that in 2024, there was a change to software licensing. And the change, the full impact of the change was not fully discovered until January. That was now that has been identified, trying to work towards solution, but there has not been an opportunity that it's also, the solution is also tied up to what the potential solutions, what the potential selected option are in implementation of who is going to be the home for IT services for the Department of Extension.
But per the 2024 contract,
Which is working
which
right
is
now.
in place,
Yeah,
Correct.
they are not given what is promised in that
and that's
2024.
I understand because they don't correct it now, so that's why it's invalid. I understand. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another unnerving thing is that technology is kind of fragile. And so, like, for an educator, at some point, you may go to try to turn your computer on and your computer won't turn on. You've probably had that problem with your own stuff, right? You go to fire up your phone and it's glitchy, or you go to fire up your computer and it's not working anymore. And so we don't really have a plan for if we wake up in the morning and we try to turn on our computer and it's not working. It's like, oh, use your little Chromebook from when your 21-year-old was in elementary school or whatever to try to scrape by. There's not a plan where if we were attached to the county IT, like there would be a plan for that. We could call them and they would support us, but we don't have that right now. So at any moment, we could just be SOL.
You understand, Larry, that Haley don't have the right program to support staff. They did have it,
As county employed.
and they're county employees.
Yeah, and that clarifies why we can't operate under the extending the 24 because it's invalid already. So why would we extend it? That's like the county wanted to just extend it, so. And the extension said, no, we can't, it's not working. Anyway, so that makes
They
clarification.
wanted to extend it with their revisions.
Hey,
County wanted to extend it with their revision.
Okay.
Just to add that it's been very disruptive to our office, and I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like it has impacted my capacity to effectively deliver programming. Or I shouldn't say effectively, but more so just at the rate that I was.
Efficiently.
Thank you. Yes, efficiently. So that's it's been pretty frustrating, if I'm being frank.
So at this point, all we can do is hope everything goes good smoothly on Thursday and
Thursday.
then that would affect whether we need a meeting in May or not, May 19th.
I would like to suggest that we schedule it, we have the meeting planned.
I think we should plan a meeting. I think that we would all like to know, I mean, you would know, but I would like to know. My only request is that we can talk about
Yeah, well,
dates and times. I wanna be here, so.
Well, the outcome, I guess.
Yep.
Prior, so we have the outcome prior.
Yeah.
Correct.
And there's issues, we need to bring up prior to approval.
correct.
We'll see how, it goes. Like I said, if they got anything or everyone gets on. But it sounds like you got the staff that you need to support you,
Yeah,
you know.
You feel this is gonna get rectified at the first meeting, or everybody's gonna have to go back and try to make adjustments and come back for a second meeting to clarify different things?
I don't have a crystal ball on that.
Yeah.
I mean, the plan is to have the first meeting and then determine the schedule or scheduling for a second meeting at that meeting. So
I was just looking at if the first meeting doesn't go over well, do we want to have a meeting right after that? Or do we want to wait until you have a second meeting or
Well, it depends.
discuss the first meeting to see how that went? And then
Or could have one, well, see,
after the second
on a
meeting,
weekend, that's right, that's
Yeah.
why.
and I can, with any items that I'm able to update you, either, with, Dennis and I, we can also
Yeah.
provide updates to the best of our ability. And yes,
Decide.
we can determine what would be the best for a meeting for this group to have face-to-face conversation.
Okay, ready to one?
Yeah, the only other admin item, and this is just kind of an update. I don't, it's not funny, but it's gotten to the point where at least I chuckle a little bit. One of the things that we did when we moved our location to New London is that we attempted to do mail forward, thinking that we could submit mail forwarding and be able to get our mail to our location without having to stop by the courthouse. Well, it turns out that that is not possible because of the system that's used in all of Waupaca County's mail. Incoming mail was getting forwarded to our office. So we identified, there was a little bit of a small amount of panic. Thank you to Allie and Haley for doing some investigating to figure out what was and wasn't possible. And basically forwarding our mail is not possible without messing up the whole work. So we identified it. I think we might still be getting an odd piece here that we run back down to the courthouse to get back. But it's a lesson. It was a lesson learned, not something that we would have been able to anticipate without having to go through it. But I do thank Haley and Ally for all of their hard work in working with the different post offices to find out the information to see what was and wasn't possible. So they've been instrumental in making some of these transitional pieces work for us. So that's all I've got.
Okay, then we'll go on to the next, the educator report, Alicia.
Let's see, Ally, I sent you an email. Are you able to pull up a PowerPoint?
He's connected.
Are we trying to be out of here by 10? Is that usually the?
Not much.
Not necessarily.
This, my bag.
she wants to
Yeah,
get
we
long
forwarded
winded.
to them. What's that?
I say, it sounds like we want to get long winded.
What? I just,
Take
I
the
know.
time you need.
I want to make sure that everybody has a chance if they have something else. I know we want to share, I had a thumb drive. Is a thumb drive helpful instead of emailing?
Thumb drive can work.
Okay.
gonna take me a little bit.
maybe-
to log on this computer.
Ally, will you remind everybody about the open house?
Yeah, I shared with you guys all the open house flyer we are having on Monday, May
Oh,
12th.
you got it, great.
From 3 to 5, you can come anytime between then. I know, so that's kind of like in the afternoon, so if you wanted to come right at 3 or even a little before 3, I'm sure we'll be set up and ready to rock, so. You are welcome to stay the whole time, 5 minutes, whatever you guys can come for, we would appreciate just seeing your faces if you haven't stopped at our office already. At this point, I think Ken's gonna have a desk right next to me.
We love this.
We love visitors though, so come anytime, even if you can't make it on Monday, May 12th, come really anytime, we're always there. We would love to see your faces. And we just got some new K-Cups. I can make you some nice coffee.
We also sent the invite out to a bunch of community partners, so.
Yeah, and all the county supervisors will be receiving one via mail, along with all the department heads are getting one via email today.
You're having beats.
We can arrange that.
Good. What do you want, Ken? We'll get you whatever you need.
Do a quick program update if that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And if this is too much, I can just kind of run through it quick, or I could save it for next time.
Just give me
I think Christy, if you wanna start.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of related to the contract, but I just wanted to provide an opportunity for some clarification around the language for food wise in the version 4 contract. There was some comments made in the finance committee meeting about food wise, which were all untrue. So I just want to make sure that you have the accurate information if it is brought up, or kind of to the point of the 3.2, I believe it was. So food wise, let me just get the language, if that was crossed, or kind of the negotiating factors around 3.2, is that currently food wise in 2024 brought $98,000 into the county for labor and supplies, program implementation, and in 2025, $99,000. That is coming to the county at no cost. Those supplies, our salaries, that's Haley and my time, and the education that we deliver. Then in return, since 2008, like Chris had noted, since Foodwise has been around in Waupaca County, we have had a contract annually signed that we come to the county extension committee. Just as of maybe 2 years ago, Foodwise, our language and our own contract was absorbed into the county's contract with extension. So we used to have our own contract for several years that I came to the extension committee meetings, presented that contract. You all, historically had agreed, signed upon allowing Foodwise staff to have a seat, have an office, have access to the internet, those operating expenses, basically, so pens, pencils.
But prior to that, you were on UW computer system. They took you off when? When did they suggest to go off UW computer system and you go on the county?
So that was kind of an unknown that happened. So this was before Haley was around, myself and our previous educator, Kelly Hammond, both had state provided laptops. And the county came in and swapped out our extension laptops for updated ones, not knowing that Foodwise had their own laptops. So then we continued using those county provided laptops. I would have to look up the year. It would be at least 6 or 7 years ago. Well, it was before Haley started, so at least
I'm coming up on 6 years.
6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. But those agreements, really are currently, since Haley and I both are using state funded technology laptops right now, this is really asking for us to have a space to sit in the office, to be able to hook up to internet, use some pens and pencils in the office. And then there was also a comment made about me accessing other networks, because I do cover 4 counties. Our FoodWise team is Calumet, Outagamie, Waupaca, and Winnebago counties. That is how FoodWise is organized in Wisconsin. There's only 2 or 3, I think Brown County, Dane County, and Milwaukee County are 1 county projects. The rest of the state is lumped. Because we have to do what we can with the money that we have. So that's the nature of FoodWise. My home base is Waupaca though. It always has been since I started in 2012, 13. And, agreements have always been signed, so it's not like we've been sliding under the rug or being manipulative. We've always had signed contracts saying, yes, we're gonna provide you this space. We don't pay your salary. We're gonna let you be a part of the office. I have never had access to Calumet, Outagamie, or Winnebago networks ever. I've always only had access to Waupaca County network, so when I'm in those offices, I'm using the Wi-Fi in the building. We also have contracts with those counties as well because we have nutrition educators that sit in those buildings. I also have a UW-Madison Division of Extension cell phone that is paid for by UW-Madison Division of Extension. That is the number that is listed when you call Calumet County, Outagamie County, or Winnebago County. It is now the number that rings when my extension is dialed in Waupaca as well. So I just wanted to provide some clarifying points to some of the information that was shared that isn't accurate. And again, if had there been an opportunity for some negotiating, maybe those key points wouldn't have been misunderstood. But I just wanted to make sure you all had that updated information.
They did say that they had thought you were sharing information with other counties.
Accessing other networks.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. And that is not accurate.
Thanks for sharing that. There's a lot of clarity, I think. All right, so I'm Alicia. I'm just gonna stay over here. Or you can just swirl around if he wants to.
Yep.
So I'm Alicia and we just saw each other at the county board meeting where we all got a chance to chat about our programming. So you heard quite a bit that day about some of the programming that I'm doing with Veterans Affairs, the planning ahead programming. And today I was going to focus a little bit more on the caregiver work that we're doing. So my programming is called Human Development and Relationships. The primary goal is programming around supporting older people and caring for caregivers. And then my secondary is family engagement and relationships, where I support families with children. And the newest thing that we're doing is supporting childcare centers. So on Friday, I spent 4 hours with Sunny Day doing free professional development, high quality, research-based professional development for their teachers there. So lots of good stuff happening. Today, we're going to talk a little bit, will you advance the slide? Thank you. We're going to talk about the caregiving aspect though. So in Wisconsin, there are over 500,000 people who are providing family caregiving at home. So those are not professional caregivers. Those are sons taking care of their mothers, wives taking care of their husbands, and cousins taking care of a child who has developmental disabilities. Those are those caregivers. So that 26% of those caregivers, they have their own children that are under 18. So that's 30% in Wisconsin, or excuse me, 30% nationally, 26% in Wisconsin, that they're part of the sandwich generation. So I'm taking care of an aging parent, and at the same time, I'm taking care of my child. So kind of sandwiched in between with two big jobs. On top of that, 58% of the caregivers are still in the workforce. So most of them working full-time jobs and doing the full-time job at the same time of caring for a loved one or a neighbor. And on top of all of that, most of these people, they're not getting paid a dime to do it. So they're doing all of this work for free. What a huge resource that we need to protect, a huge Wisconsin resource that we need to protect. So one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about caregiving is because of the people on the screen. The lady right in the middle is my mom. And my mom cared for my grandpa, who's the fellow below her in the stripes. He had a chronic lung disease. And my mom started caring for him and my grandma, who also had some health issues. And it started out, the way she would care for them is they would call and they'd say, like, we need groceries, and their eyesight was going. And so my mom started giving them transportation, and she would drive them around. She'd take them to the grocery store. She'd take them to doctor's appointments, wherever they needed to go. She was always running them. Then it transitioned into they no longer could get up and down in and out of the house anymore. So now she's out doing all those things for them and running over there, helping them clean, helping them do that. Then there was a medical crisis. So now all of a sudden she's doing the job of a home health nurse and doing medical things and kind of learning on the job and doing all of that stuff. My grandpa passed away, and within 2 weeks, my grandma had a stroke. And she was moved in with my aunt, and my mom moved in with my aunt, and they basically teamed up, working full time and caring for her mom. And shortly thereafter, my grandma passed away, and my aunt, where they were all taking care of my grandma, my aunt was diagnosed with brain cancer. And my mom just melted. Like, I sat with her and she was a puddle, and she was like, I can't do it. I cannot take care of another person again. Like the fulfilling, all of the things that you get from caregiving, it's so fulfilling, and you make these great bonds with your loved ones, and at the same time you just get your butt kicked trying to work full time and do that. So watching her and helping her navigate that world, it has made me really passionate about taking care of caregivers. So we know that 16% of Waupaca County residents are experiencing that. We know that 1 in 6 people in Waupaca are taking care of a loved one or a neighbor. And a lot of times they're doing this without any formal training. And they themselves have physical and emotional needs that are not being met when they're taking care of others. So my mom ended up with kidney issues. She ended up with hypertension and all of that. And every day you're going to work and you're taking care of this loved one, and you're not addressing your own needs. And by the time you're done, you yourself need a caregiver. And sometimes we even hear about the caregiver passes away before the care recipient does, because the caregiver's needs are going unmet. So that sounds pretty negative, but there are a lot of things. Like I said, the caregivers, there are benefits to them. So if they can do it with support, they can become closer to their family members, and they can also grow skills that are transferable. So when they're not caregiving anymore, they can take those skills back into their jobs. And it also gives a big, strong sense of purpose and fulfillment. Right. And that slide said that 8,290 Waupaca County residents are family caregivers, and their unpaid value is $131 million each year to Waupaca County. So it's a pretty big deal, right? So extension, a little snippet of the job of the human development educator is to support those people and to make sure that they are well. And so when I talk about that role, it's not the role of doing things for the care recipient. It's all about, is the caregiver okay? So some of the things we're doing is working with the ADRC. I'm getting trained up in stress disorders. Excuse me. So that's a 9-week program where we help caregivers learn how to do different practices to be able to take care of their mental health and to be able to reduce their stress. So hopefully they don't end up like my mom with hypertension. Another thing we're doing is caregiver cafe work. So this summer, my state program colleagues we have a workforce that our task force that we're going to be working on caregiver cafes. So I cannot do support groups. I don't have the mental health background to be able to do counseling and support groups. And that's one of the big things that is in demand in Waupaca County and lots of the counties, frankly. But what I can do is I can do caregiver cafes. So I can have a little bit of education with a big opportunity to bring people together to connect and to share their stories. So that's kind of where my focus is building up these caregiver cafes, which are not the same as a support group, but they have a lot of the same benefits as a support group. Another thing that I'm working on is working with the Waupaca Caregiver Alliance. And one of the programs that I have a lot of effort that is involved in is the Powerful Tools for Caregivers. We're going to advance the slide, please. Thank you. So Powerful Tools for Caregivers is an evidence-based program that's out of Iowa, and I am a licensed facilitator for that. It's a 6-week program. It helps to reduce stress, improve self-confidence. It helps caregivers to learn how about managing time and setting goals every week. They set a goal, they set an intention for something that they're going to do, and it's not something that they have to do. It's something that they want to do to be able to improve their sense of wellness. So what can they do to be able to feel a little bit better themselves? We talk a lot about in that program about how to communicate. One of the very baseline things that we do is we talk about I messages. So teaching caregivers how instead of saying, you never help me, you're never around when I need you, they can say, I need more support. So that simple shift in communication, caregivers find a lot of success in that because when you say you, people put up their wall, but when you say I need, the walls come down and you're able to communicate better. And just that simple little lesson that we do and that we practice, it really, really helps. We talk a lot about resources, where to find those resources. In Waupaca County, there's so many little hidden gems of things that caregivers could be getting access to, but they don't even know. Even just simply the ADRC, you don't know how many times I talk about the ADRC and people are like, what is this? And their slogan is know us before you need us. So I'm definitely spreading that partnership as often as possible. All right, next slide, please. This is going to be really tricky to see for you, but I have capacity to do this program quarterly. And so I like to collect the data and see where we're at. And this shows the level of agreement. Most of my participants agree or strongly agree that they've had growth in managing stress, asking for help, assertive communication, self-care skills, and they learn that emotions are normal. Now, what you don't see here is the pre-session grid. It shows that they disagree that they're able to manage stress, and it shows that they either strongly disagree or they disagree. And so when we talk about learning skills and growth, this program is exponential. Like it goes from being like, we disagree, or we strongly disagree, to we agree, or we strongly agree that we've learned something and that we have growth. And that testimonial on the bottom is one from the program that I just wrapped up last week. And it says, this was one of the best classes I've ever taken, tons of useful and valuable information. So I have tons and tons of quotes like that. I have worked with participants in this program who have said, and this is not exaggerating, they have said that they were contemplating suicide and they got into this program and they were able to see that they needed to get a counselor. They were able to learn how to communicate their needs, and it supported them so strongly. And so I just have goosebumps from thinking about that conversation that I had. People are being referred to this program by their doctors because the doctors see they have burnout. They're being referred by caseworkers in the in clinics because they're the ones that are seeing the caregiver who's taking care of the care recipient, and they're going, hey, something's going on. This person is getting to burnout. So while I was in the last session, so the data that is the brightest orange, This is coming from people who, during that session, there was a lady whose partner fell and she couldn't get him up, and she had to call the fire department to help come and get the guy up. There was a lady who was in the middle of deciding to transition her care recipient into an assisted living situation. There was a woman whose mom died during the session. And they were still showing up every single week. Like, if there is not an excuse to come to a program, like, all of those things may have kept me from going to a program. But they felt so supported that they were showing up every week. So pretty cool stuff. Yeah. So this is just a reminder. Oh, this is telling you about the alliance work that we're doing. So I work with the Waupaca Caregiver Alliance. This is a really cool, like a rich group of people who are all fired up to support caregivers. So some of the things that I'm doing with them right now is I help to manage the Facebook account and do some of that outreach. I also contribute to the monthly caregiver newsletter. I connect this group of people to the state resources. So we have a state specialist who is specifically for caregiving stuff. And the state specialist that I can turn to, that I can tap into. So I've had her, she's attended virtually, she's attended the meetings and talked to that alliance and been able to get them some of that state information too. Also helping with event planning and promoting. This event that's coming up is the resource fair on May 16th. That will be at the senior center from 10 to 2. There's going to be a free meal. There's going to be resource booths. And some prizes and fun things. And one cool thing that I'm super proud of is that state specialist is coming and she's doing the keynote talk during that time. So she, not only is she coming and doing that free of charge for Waupaca County, but she has purchased space at a booth to be able to do a caregiver postcard thing. So she's, not only is she contributing by showing up and doing the keynote, but she's also contributing by having one of those booths there too. Right. And that's it. Didn't go so long. Do you have any questions or anything that you want to chat about?
Oh, it was good because it's, how you got involved. Oh,
Thank you.
no, my brother took care of my mom. My wife and I took care of her mom. We both were working.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand perfectly. You know, it's just a matter of convincing, where the problem always comes, is convincing the other family members, we both come from large families. The need and care that's needed and what you can't do no more when it comes time to put them in a home.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the hardest part, is convincing. You know. And
Yeah,
what-
we, part of that Powerful Tools for Caregivers program is having those conversations in that safe space of this caregiver program with each other so that you have almost like a little script to go back to a family meeting, even just knowing, oh, like you should set up a family meeting. Like you shouldn't just be texting everybody and have to talk to each person as an individual. You can get all of these people together and be part of a team and have a meeting so that they can know what the needs are and what their next step is. And inviting that care recipient to that table too and making sure that they're part of that conversation. And all of those skills are something that we teach in that Powerful Tools for Caregivers class. Great, thanks for sharing that.
Thank you. You did a very good job.
Wonderful work you're doing, Alicia.
Thank you.
Great work.
I was just with some people this last weekend and one has dementia and he's not aware of it, but his wife is so stressed out over it that he forgets something and she just goes into ape over it. So I can see her passing away before him. He's in good health and
Yeah.
she's just getting so stressed out over everything that
What's that? Nothing bothers, you.
Statistically, dementia caregivers are the highest at risk. Yep, they're the highest at risk for mental for having mental health issues kind of sneak up on them and that those other health issues, you know.
I would think it'd be
Followed by
heart attack or stroke
Parkinson's.
because of the way they get so stressed out over everything.
What's that?
I thought it would possibly be they would die from a heart attack or a stroke. When
Yeah.
they get stressed out
Yeah.
over everything.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, their own stress,
Trying to
stress
deal with
becomes their
two
own
people's
chronic
lives
issue.
instead of one.
Absolutely.
And letting everything get to them.
Yep,
I
and
know by the time I left, I was time to get out of here.
it's really isolating. That's
Mhm,
it
yep.
too, is and if you have people that you know that are caring for somebody with dementia, being a support system to them, making sure that they get some respite. There's a lot of cool stuff in this community for people that need that respite. So helping you give that resource and getting them connected. It's very isolating. That's part of why it is such a risk.
I drove in for a nursing home for a few years after I took my early retirement, and there were some situations I had to go to these places, the people just couldn't stay at home anymore, and it was sad, some of the conditions they were living in. This and I can tell a lot of stories about things like that. It's, you know, family just couldn't, or they didn't, they just left them there, and some of the grandkids were helping, trying, but they just didn't have the time either. It was.
Yeah. We know that over 80% of the population wants to age at home, but most of the people haven't thought about what does that look like? What does that look like getting in and out of my home? You know, and so starting that process of making your home a safe place to age, making your home a safe place to have in-home caregivers, starting that thought process. You know, my daughter and her guy are talking about buying a home. Like, as 20-year-olds, if you think that's gonna be your forever home, you should be thinking about accessibility while you build that home, or while you're looking to buy that home, that you're not putting yourself in a place that you can't fit a wheelchair eventually, or whatever it may be. Absolutely. Thanks so much for being interested.
Well, you're correct in that. My brother built a house here, I think it could be 7, 8, 9 years ago, Ken. And he made it wheelchair accessible. Where it is in the door. Wash in.
Yeah.
It's pre-planned. I know my house is not set up for it.
I started a couple of years ago, got rid of the bathtub, walk-in shower, got rid of the carpet for the hardwoods, you can leave a pile for it. Hardwood through, they don't get beat and stumble on something, and I haven't got the ramp in yet, but they're in good health. I think I'm gonna die of hopefully a heart attack before that, so hopefully I'm still able to walk.
Well, we always say, like, if you don't want to do it for you, or you don't want to think about yourself in those terms, think about caring for, like, you know, everybody wants to be able to have grandma in the house for Christmas. Or you want to be able to get, you know, mom and dad into the home for the holidays, or whatever it might be. So, like, just kind of framing it in that way of, like, we want to be able to be accessible to everybody that we care about.
Okay, are there any outreach, education, or program reminders?
I don't have anything to add. I've reported a couple times recently, so I don't have anything to add right now.
You know, I had mentioned this maybe last month, but I officially met with the Scandinavia Public Library, and we are going to implement a little free pantry within their public library. They are hoping to open that at the end of May, early June. The Scandinavia Public Library. So it's gonna be modeled in a smaller fashion as the Waupaca Library, a little free pantry.
We're a little resistant at first, too, so.
Good
Thanks.
Yeah. And I'll just add, I just reported at county board, but the Towns Association meeting will be on May 15th at the highway facility here. Starts at 5:30, meeting begins at 6:15. We'll have a couple of speakers, Jason McCaffrey, the GIS coordinator, and John Gilloy, the GIS specialist, and then a couple of department head updates.
Is that on a Wednesday?
That's on a Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah,
I'll be out of town.
you'll make it one of these times.
I just-
Yeah, otherwise,
Hoping it was on a Wednesday, cause I know about it on Thursday.
otherwise I have social joinery on May first. And starting a strategic planning process for our local department here in the county. That's all I have right now.
Okay, I guess if that's it, like I said, our next meeting is kind of how to handle that.
So at least, how about this, Dennis and I talked and we initially proposed, at least for a starting point, Monday, May 19th. We have Memorial Day, changes, things a little bit. But also, that was a starting point for conversation. That is not the set date. So this is the opportunity for this group to be able to discuss and find the best time to work, or that would work for the most people.
I will not be here the 19th through the 23rd. So, just that, I got
What kind of hunting trip is going on?
I have other commitments, okay?
Who's the county board?
Yeah, late season.
I guess I'm gonna have, I thought that's 19th also?
It's the 20th.
20th.
Yeah, I guess I will.
Give me some notes I'll bring up on your behalf.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Okay, so we're planning the 19th or just?
Yeah, plan on the 19th and just shoot it, and if it isn't. It's nothing.
Nothing happens.
Yeah.
And we'll send out a notice, but,
Yeah, but let's plan on it. I would appreciate that.
okay.
What time and what location?
Oh, if we can't get a facility, we can have it at. One.
We can always have it at the New London office. That's just, I wanted to confirm. I mean, we are willing to host, very willing to host there. So,
Something will come up here,
If you have it before that, I'd be welcome to come.
okay.
If you have it that week. Sure.
Oh. Ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm out of town that weekend.
All right, so here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that the 19th, 9 AM at the extension office in New London. And we will, between Dennis and I, we will communicate with the committee with the best amount of information that we have as far as the progress or status of the negotiation teams meeting. And at the very least, provide an update of any status and allow for any face-to-face conversation and questions about where we might be at that point.
Okay, I guess if there's nothing else, the motion to adjourn.
So
Okay, we are adjourned.
Thanks, girls.
yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.